Before the doctor even finished his sentence, the room went silent. The kind of silence that feels heavy, like the air itself is holding its breath. "You may never walk again," he said gently, eyes fixed on the chart instead of her face. The woman's fingers tightened around the edge of the hospital bed, her whole future collapsing into that single moment. But just then, a man leaned close, his voice barely louder than a whisper, and said words no one in that room would ever forget, "Then I'll be your legs." If stories of love, sacrifice, and impossible hope move you, stay with us till the end, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because this story will stay in your heart long after it ends. Her name was Sarah, and until that day, she had been the kind of woman who measured life in steps. Morning jogs before work, evening walks to clear her head, dancing barefoot in the kitchen when her favorite song came on. Movement was freedom, and freedom was who she was. The accident came on an ordinary, forgettable afternoon, rain-slick roads, a red light someone else ignored, and a violent impact that turned her world upside down. When she woke up, everything below her waist felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. She told herself it was temporary. It had to be. The single dad sitting beside her bed was named Daniel. Life had already carved deep lines into his face. He had lost his wife 3 years earlier to a sudden illness, leaving him alone with a 6-year-old daughter named Lily. Daniel knew grief. He knew how quickly life could rewrite your plans without asking permission. Sarah wasn't just someone he loved, she was someone who had brought laughter back into his house, who had taught Lily how to braid her hair, who had filled quiet rooms with warmth again. He believed, stubbornly, that love could fix anything. Or at least carry you through it. When the doctor left, Sarah stared at the ceiling, tears sliding silently into her hair. "I can't live like this," she whispered, the words shaking. "I'll be a burden." Daniel took her hand, rough from years of work, steady from years of responsibility. "You won't be," he said without hesitation. "You're not alone. We'll figure it out." She turned to him, anger and fear flashing in her eyes. "You don't understand. I can't walk. I can't run. I can't even stand up to hug you." That's when he leaned closer and said it again, softer this time, like a promise meant only for her. "Then I'll be your legs." Rehabilitation was brutal. Painful exercises. Endless repetitions that seemed to lead nowhere. Nurses encouraging, therapists patient, but progress slow and uncertain. Some days Sarah pushed herself, sweat dripping down her temples as she tried to move muscles that refused to listen. Other days she couldn't even look at the wheelchair waiting beside her bed. On those days, Daniel showed up anyway. Early mornings before work, late nights after putting Lily to sleep. He learned how to lift her safely, how to help without making her feel helpless. He never rushed her, never pitied her. He treated her like Sarah, strong, stubborn, alive. At home, life changed in ways neither of them expected. Daniel rearranged furniture, built ramps with his own hands, and measured doorways with careful precision. Lily watched it all quietly, then one day climbed into Sarah's lap and said, "It's okay if you can't walk. You still read the best stories." That simple sentence cracked something open in Sarah's chest. She cried harder than she had since the accident, holding the child close, realizing she was still needed, still loved. But doubt is a persistent enemy. Late at night, when the house was quiet, Sarah stared at the ceiling and imagined Daniel years from now, tired, older, still lifting her, still sacrificing. "You deserve better," she told him one evening, her voice trembling. "Someone who can walk beside you, not be carried." Daniel sat across from her, exhaustion in his eyes, but something stronger beneath it. "I don't want better," he said. "I want you." Love isn't about convenience. It's about commitment. Money became another challenge. Medical bills piled up. Daniel took extra shifts, his hands cracked and sore, his body aching. He hid the worst of his fatigue behind a smile, but Sarah noticed. Guilt gnawed at her. One afternoon, after a particularly hard therapy session, she broke down. "I hate this chair," she sobbed. "I hate what I've become." Daniel knelt in front of her, eye level, his voice firm but gentle. "You haven't become less," he said. "You've become different. And different doesn't mean broken." Slowly, something inside Sarah shifted. She stopped measuring life by what she'd lost and started noticing what remained. Her hands were still strong. Her mind still sharp. Her heart still capable of giving and receiving love. She began volunteering online, mentoring others newly injured, sharing her fears and small victories. People listened. They found hope in her honesty. Daniel watched her reclaim pieces of herself and felt a quiet pride swell in his chest. Months passed. Then a year. One day during therapy, Sarah felt a flicker, tiny, almost imaginary. She mentioned it, afraid to hope. The therapist smiled cautiously. Let's work with that. Progress was still slow, but now there was possibility. Daniel celebrated every small gain like a miracle. The first time Sarah stood with support, legs trembling, tears streamed down both their faces. She collapsed back into the chair laughing and crying at once. I stood, she whispered. Daniel kissed her forehead. You did. Whether she would ever walk independently didn't matter as much as it once had. The real transformation had already happened. Sarah learned that strength isn't measured by steps taken but by the courage to keep going. Daniel learned that love doesn't need guarantees to be real. Lily learned that family isn't defined by perfection, but by presence.